Hey guys, recently I've had some questions on how to do triggers for music, triggers for special effects, and just how to make some cool things in creative mode that aren't too complicated. So that little scene at the beginning is something I made just to kind of show off. Basically you drive down here, music starts, and then eyes appear sequentially, and then music, and then when you walk over here, these gargoyles appear and scare you. Let me just show you again real quick. So I'm starting up here, I drop down, there's music, you walk forward, eyes appear, more eyes appear. Whoa, there's some more eyes. There's some whispers and more eyes are appearing everywhere. Well, let's walk forward. Let's get out of this scary place. Ah, gargoyles! An evil laugh. So I want to show you how I set all of this up so that you can go and create your own awesome maps yourselves. So the first step was just building my little room where it was going to happen. It's just a big black box, and I wanted it to drop down just to kind of show you can trigger music. So what happens is you drop down here and then you land on this button. So I always like to make my buttons big when I really want them to be triggered. So I have this button set to be triggered by the player, and then I make sure I always turn off the sound and visual effects, especially if it's going to be something that's triggering music or like a jump scare or something. You have to have that turned off. Now, you may want that on if you want it to, there's some sort of a feedback, like pushing a button or something. That's when you want the sound and visual effects to be on. Then you come down here and make sure you are transmitting on a channel when it's triggered. So this is channel 1. And finally, I just want to make sure the visibility in the game is off so that it doesn't, otherwise you just see this giant button and that's not attractive at all. So now this one is connected to the radio. Now the radio can be found under devices right down here is your radio. You're gonna equip it and then you can throw it. This is one of those ones you have to like throw out, right? So you throw it out and then you can customize it all, right? So I used the music Slasher Camp and then I turned it off during pregame, warm-up, gameplay, round end, game end, all that stuff. And I made it so that you could hear it all over the island. Now, you may want it to only be 10 tiles or 20 tiles or whatever, but I liked it to have it on the whole island so it feels like it's all around you. And then I have it playing when receiving from channel 1. That's the most important thing. So it starts playing from channel 1, and then I have another trigger right here, which is going to activate the eyes, the evil eyes. So these are the evil eyes right here. Like I'm just gonna show it right now. These eyes appear when I hit this trigger number 2. So the eyes are a certain special effect. So let me show you what it looks like. It's a prefab. If you go to the galleries, and it's right here, the Spooky Particle Gallery. And that's what this looks like. It's all of these eyes. And there's different levels of eyes. There's like a single eyes, there's multiple eyes, and then there's like more deep, it's like more spread out eyes, the further back you go. So let me show you how I set up the eyes. So you have to make sure it's enabled is turned off, and then enable when you're receiving from channel 3. Now, why not 2? Because I haven't used 2 yet. Well, I have this going to channel 2, and the way I made it so that the eyes slowly appeared is I put it on a sequencer. So when you hit trigger 2, this activates, and then it goes down here and activates channel 3, channel 4, channel 5, channel 6, and then channel 7's a little bit further down here. Now I have the eyes here triggering off of different channels. So this one triggers off of channel 3, this one's off of channel 4, this one's off of channel 5, and then the other ones are off of channel 6, and then I have the music triggering. So this is the Halloween scare. So that triggers right when the eyes come up, the first eyes come up, and then this one is like whispers, and that one is attuned to channel 5, which is when these eyes appear. Now I kind of wanted the whispers to continue on, so I have some more whispers on channel 7. That's why I put that out a little way so that the whispers would still kind of be going as you went along. So the important things here are these triggers. They're triggered by the player, Remember, you want to turn the visibility off, and you want to turn the sound and visual effects off, and then have it play on channel 2. And then I had this sequencer activates when it receives from channel 2, and then these are all transmitting on different channels that then activate the eyes. So channel 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And then making sure that these are all connected to the proper channels. Channel 6, channel 5, channel 4, depending on when I want them to come up. I do want to mention one more thing with the special effects. You got to make sure that they are not enabled at the beginning, because if you have it on gameplay or pregame or all or whatever, then they'll just always be showing up. You only want them to show up once it's triggered. So you say enable during phase none, and then it's enabled when it's triggered by the certain channel that you have it connected to. Now let's talk about this whole gargoyle thing at the end. I wanted something to just appear. Now the problem is you can't really connect items like these gargoyles to triggers, but you can connect these the barriers to triggers. So I set up barriers that will that appear black, and then they disable once I hit this channel right here. Now I actually have that channel connected to another sequencer. And the reason I wanted that to be on the sequencer is you trigger this, and then it disables all of the barriers, which shows the gargoyles right away, but it also triggers a sound that is scary, so that's a little bit more jarring for the player. And then as soon as that sound finishes, this triggers right here, the laugh of the woman. So let me show you how I set all this up. So I've got my trigger here that once they stand on it, honestly, I probably should have made this bigger, so that, you know, they will for sure trigger it. Now, I didn't want them to trigger it further back here, so maybe it's like right here so that the gargoyles pop up. And I've got my 2 sounds here. That's the laugh of the woman, and this is a scary one, right? And then my gargoyles are put just off of the edge of this block so that you can't see them through, like when it's all blacked out. So first, let's talk about how I set up the barriers. Let's go down and look at one. So this is the one down below. I have it down below because if it's on the same level as what I'm walking, sometimes you can see beneath the little barriers. So it was kind of showing some of the gargoyles' feet, that kind of thing. So I set it up to be below the map so that you weren't gonna ever get a peek at the gargoyles' feet. Okay, so now let's open up the customization of the barrier. Now I set it to black. You can set this to anything you want. There's a lot of different colors. There's solid 1, solid 2, whatever, but black was what worked for me on this one. The base is not visible. I have the barrier enabled on the gameplay so that people just see a black wall and think there's nothing there. And then I make sure, you know, I have the sizing right, and then I disable it when it receives from channel 10. Now remember, channel 10 is triggered off of once this is enabled. So they walk on the trigger in the room, which is then transmits on channel 9. This receives it on channel 9 and plays, and then immediately it triggers channel 10, which then disables the barriers. And I've got 3 different barriers that it disables, so that the gargoyles all appear at once. So the keys here are to make sure that the barriers disable when channel 10 is triggered. Okay, now with the sounds, the same thing. So this is the scary sound. I have this set up to activate and enable when receiving from channel 10. Now that's something that's important with sounds. You have to make sure that they activate and are enabled on the same channel. I don't really know why there's 2 options there, but you have to make sure they're both enabled. Now this one I have playing a little bit later when channel 11 is triggered. Now, I know this isn't the most amazing room ever built, but there's a lot of really fun things you can do with triggers and receivers. And just make sure you look at all of your options when you are setting things up. There's so many awesome things that you can do that are way more advanced with times that they can be triggered, transmit every X triggers. You know, there's just a lot of really cool things that can be done. And so I encourage you to go around and play with things. Play with sequencers, activating triggers, or having delays on things, and there's just a lot that you can do. And then also make sure you look at all of the different options with different items. So like over here, you can't really do anything with the fog machine, but with lights, you can now mess with lights. You can change its initial state. You can change the color brightness, right? There's a lot that you can do and have it activated by triggers. You can even have torches turn on when something is triggered. So you can have like a room go, and that's just so cool. So be sure you always check if something can be customized and if it can be activated by a trigger. That's it for today, guys. Hopefully this helps you when you're setting up your maps. If there's anything else you want me to show you how to do, let me know in the comments below. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. We do fun, new stuff in creative every day, whether it's playing a map or building a map or showing you how to build a map. All right, guys, thanks for watching and have an awesome day.